There are some people out there who seem to operate on a completely different human frequency. Today, we're going to dive into the story of one of them, David Goggins. So what's the secret? What's the mindset that lets someone push past pain that would break most of us? We're going to explore his core idea, that the only way to find out who you really are is to embrace discomfort.
First, let's just try to wrap our heads around some of the numbers. I'm talking about over 4,000 pull-ups, not in a month, not in a week, in a single 17-hour stretch. Just think about that for a second. It's absolutely staggering.
Okay, now picture this. You're tipping the scales at nearly 300 pounds, and you decide you want to become a Navy SEAL. Here's the catch. You've got less than 3 months to lose over 100 pounds just to get your foot in the door. And yeah, he did it.
And if that wasn't enough, he also went through Navy SEAL Hell Week, which is exactly what it sounds like. 5.5 days of non-stop punishment with maybe 4 hours of sleep total. Most people can't even get through it once. He did it 3 times.
So you have to ask, right? How is any of this even possible for a human being? Well, the answer doesn't start in a gym or on some racetrack. It starts somewhere much, much darker.
See, before David Goggins was, Goggins, his life was the polar opposite of success. And to really get his philosophy, you first have to understand the man he used to be. He's said it himself. He was a man who should have been a statistic. His childhood was just a nightmare of abuse. The toxic stress left him with a stutter and learning disabilities. He was facing racism, living in poverty, and ended up overweight in a dead-end pest control job, basically using his past as the perfect excuse for why his life was a mess.
And then, one day, something snapped. It was just him, looking at his reflection in a mirror and having a moment of just brutal honesty. He decided right then and there to stop being a victim of his life and to take complete, total ownership of his future. That was day one.
So how do you go from that decision to becoming, that? He didn't just rely on some flash of motivation. He built a system, a mental framework for his transformation that he calls the 40% rule.
And the rule itself is incredibly simple. When your mind is screaming at you to stop, when you feel like you've got absolutely nothing left to give, you've actually only used up about 40% of your real potential. Your mind is basically wired to throw in the towel way before your body actually needs to. And this chart is the perfect way to see it. We all have this huge reserve, that other 60% of strength, of grit, that our brain actively tries to hide from us. It does this to keep us safe and comfortable. Goggins' whole philosophy is about learning how to smash through that wall and access what's on the other side. And what's so wild is that this isn't just some tough guy talk. There's real science that points to this. It's a theory called the central governor model. And it basically says your brain acts like a protective supervisor. It creates the feeling of fatigue to get you to slow down, long before your body is in any real danger. So that feeling of exhaustion, a lot of the time it's just an emotion, a negotiation tactic from your brain. Okay, so if our own brains are programmed to make us quit early, how in the world do we fight back? Knowing the rule is one thing, but actually using it is a whole other beast. To solve that, Goggins developed a practical toolkit for pushing past that 40% barrier.
He calls this process building a calloused mind, and it boils down to 3 key things. First, the accountability mirror. He'd literally write his goals and his insecurities on sticky notes and put them on the mirror so he had to face them every single day. Second, he'd journal about his past struggles to turn that pain into fuel. And third, he would intentionally seek out things that sucked, things that made him uncomfortable, to build discipline.
And the logic behind callousing your mind is simple, but it's powerful. You can't get mentally tough by living a comfortable life. It's just like how your hands get calluses from lifting weights, right? Your skin adapts to make hard work less painful. Goggins says you can do the exact same thing for your mind by repeatedly doing things you don't want to do.
Now, here's a really, really important point. This is all about pushing through mental barriers, not about ignoring actual physical injury. There's a huge difference between the discomfort of your muscles burning and your brain begging you to stop versus the sharp, specific pain of an injury. You have to learn to tell the difference.
So why does any of this matter if you're not planning to run an ultramarathon anytime soon? Well, because this philosophy was never really about running or pull-ups to begin with. The mental toughness you build by pushing your physical limits doesn't just stay in the gym, it transfers to every other part of your life.
The research is pretty clear. This kind of grit is linked to better performance at work, handling stress better, and being way more likely to actually follow through on your biggest goals. At the end of the day, Goggins' story is just living proof that the limits we think we have are usually just starting lines. That voice in your head that says, "I can't go any further," is rarely telling you the truth. It's just trying to get you back to the couch where it's safe.
So the final question here isn't about how to become David Goggins. It's about finding out what you're actually capable of. The next time that voice in your head tells you that you're done, that you've hit your limit, what if you didn't listen? What if you just went a little bit further? What might you find on the other side of your 40%?